esteemed dignitaries, respected guests, and fellow members of the Kerala Management Association. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this special session for our Inspire series. I am Pooja S. Kumar.
And I am Anita Jinu. Before starting the session, let's evoke the blessings of Lord Almighty. For that, I would like to invite Pooja S. Kumar from SCMS Cochin School of Business.
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्.
Now, I would like to welcome Managing Committee Member Dr. Radha Devadur for the Presidential Address. For the introduction speaker.
Honorable President of KMA, Mr. Vibhu Punura, Honorary Secretary Dr. Ian Joseph, Vice President and Chair, Program Committee, Mr. Aljis Khalid, past Presidents, Managing Committee members, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a very good evening. I'm indeed delighted to introduce to you this young gentleman who's making our lives easier, tastier, and finger-licking. All of us would have tasted one of his products for sure. And he is doing wonders in the field of value-added spices, oleorescents, seasonings, and flavor ingredients. And that is Mr. Jacob Ninan. Yes. He serves as the Managing Director of Herbal Isolates and concurrently holds the position of Director at Synthite Industries, overseeing the company's operations in China. With a remarkable career spanning over 17 years, Mr. Jacob has successfully managed teams across US, China, and India. All these are happening in India, mind you. A couple of years back, there was an industrial visit from KMA, and I was lucky to be part of the team, and we could visit their factory. We were excited to see the products displayed there, to see the level of hygiene maintained there, and the professionalism. And to know that such a company is there in our neighborhood was great. Jacob is instrumental in launching and building Synthite's China business to a remarkable 7,100 crores turnover within 5 years. For KMA, we had proudly awarded him KMA Manufacturing Innovation Award in 2023, that is last year, for Herbal Isolates. Jacob is a distinguished alumnus of Indian School of Business, ISB, and Manipal Institute of Technology. Prior to his roles at the Synthite, he served as a key player at Juvedon, the largest flavor and fragrance company, Wipro and Simega Ingredients Limited. He's very passionate in cooking, has to be, tennis and travel. He has a lovable family which consists of wife Anuba, who's into baking, and his two daughters Zara and Ezra. Please join me in welcoming our Mr. Jacob Ninan.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now like to invite Mr. Bibu B. Punuran, President of KMA, for the presidential address.
Good evening, everyone. Our chief guest of the day, Mr. Jacob Ninan, Mrs. Radha Thevenur, Founder Secretary Anil Joseph, Past President Joseph Philip, Managing Committee Member Algis Khalid, Tom, and my dear KMA members, dear student members, warm good evening to all of you. Today there are very many reasons for me to be happy as President of KMA. The first being that I got a message from Algiers saying that Jacob is okay, because we were a little skeptical for the last few days. Jacob was sick, he was running a fever, and we didn't know whether he's going to address us today. But anyway, he is fine now, so he's with us. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we are getting somebody who is an authority on spices, spice extracts and all that. And like Radha said, mind you, all this is happening here in Kerala, that too in Kolanjeri. Yeah, Jacob's parents are here. Welcome to both of you. And like we said, he is now the managing director of Herbal Isolates. He comes from the Synthite group, and he heads Herbal Isolates, which is one of the Synthite companies, and they are exclusively into, he will be speaking more of his products and his operations, and of course touching on his journey into the Stanford Seed project also. As we all know, we should all be proud that there is a company called Synthite, and like I said, I am also happy for the fact that Jacob, I stay in a Synthite property, and I can assure all of you for one thing, anything that Synthite does has a quality attached to it. So I am a resident of Synthite's Riviera Suites, which is by and large one of the best properties you can be staying in. At least that's my feeling, because there is a quality attached to it, and to all their properties that they build on that front. And you know the Ramada Resort out here, how it is, and so they maintain that quality, no doubt about it. And on the other side of the story, we are also from, as all of you who know me personally, I'm the director of Medivision, and we are also connected with Synthite in the sense that, you know, we do the annual health checkup for many of their companies. In fact, I was just telling Jacob that, you know, he doesn't even know about it, but then, you know, I was telling Jacob that our people were there in their Ongole factory in Andhra Pradesh about a month back to do the health checkup of their employees out there. So that's the connection between us, and on the family side too, there's another smaller connection. My cousin has married his cousin, so there's a connection like that too. And another happy thing about this particular day and this particular program is that this is the 5th of the Inspire series, which we are doing for, you know, our youth at KMA. Like as you all know, this year's theme is Youth at Level Next. And we are trying to inspire youth to come into management, into business. And I'm happy to see all of you students out there, young entrepreneurs out there, who would be highly motivated when Jacob speaks to you. This, sorry, this also happens to be the 21st program for this year. We have had 14 Leader Insight programs and the Digital Summit. And of course, few of us from the managing committee have also gone for the IMA, the All India Management Association convention in New Delhi. So this in fact, once again, I would like to thank the person sitting in the front row, Mr. Algiers Khalid, who is the program committee chair. And Radha was asking him in a lighter manner as to whether he ever goes home, because every time she sees him, he sees him here or arranging a program. So thanks to you, Algiers, for this. Identifying Jacob again, because we are all part of the team, and in fact Jacob is the one who I learned this term umami when Jacob spoke to us when we went to his factory, and from that time onwards Algiers had decided that he should bring Jacob here. It took us 2 years to convince Jacob to come and address us, but then thank you, Jacob, for coming. So all said and done, the evening is yours, and I'm sure that we're going to have a great evening with Jacob speaking to us and inspiring us. So, and to you students, please be inspired by yet another young leader of industry who's going to speak to us. Over to you, Jacob.
Thank you, Rala ma'am and Vibhu, for your generous comments and the introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's truly a pleasure for me to be here. This is my third time at the KMA house. I still recall the first time I was here was about a year and a half back. It was a curtain raiser event for the Stanford Seed Transformation Program. That event sparked in me a curiosity that led me to apply and then be a part of the class of 2024. The second time I was here was about a few months back, again for the same curtain raiser event for the following batch that is going to start in the next year. And this time I was going, and during that time I was in the midst of the program, not knowing how it will all end up. And today I'm standing before you, having completed the course, and I hope I can share some of my learnings and my journey with all of you. And before I get into the subject, let me give you a quick introduction about Herbal Isolates. Herbal Isolates was founded in 1984 and is part of the Synthite group. So we are a manufacturing company into the food ingredient space. We have our presence in 30 countries, and we are largely present in two product categories. The first one being green pepper, where we are the world's largest manufacturer with over 60% of the market share. The second product is hydrolyzed vegetable protein, or HVP. It's a natural replacement for MSG, or Ajinomoto as it's commonly known. This is a segment which is fast growing for us, and we've been growing at about 30% year on year for the last 5 years. So how has Herbal Isolates been creating value up until now? There are 4 pillars that have stood out over the years. The first one is product excellence. We've always prioritized offering best products in terms of the quality, whether it be green pepper or HVP. This is the result of rigorous research and diving deep into the technical aspects of the product that we are able to do so. The second is cost leadership. This itself is a strategy for us. We identify all the cost drivers in the value chain, and we continuously improve on bringing down our costs and transferring some of the gains to our customers. The third is our biggest strength is the range of customization and tailor-made solutions that we can offer. Unlike some of our competitors, we are able to tailor-make according to our customers' end-use application. This is something that they really value. And finally, Herbal Isolates is known as a company that our customers can rely on. With over 40 years of history, we've never defaulted on a single contract. This has allowed us to command a better price, particularly with export clients who value our track record. So here we are, global leaders in green pepper, Indian leader in hydrolyzed vegetable protein. We just hit our 100 crore milestone about a year and a half back. Highly profitable with EBITDA close to 25%. So why transform? Let me explain this using this graph here. Our first 35 years of existence saw moderate and consistent growth. However, from 2020 to 2023, represented by the first two red dots that you see on the graph, we experienced significant growth both in terms of our top and bottom lines. We almost doubled our top line in just 3 years, thanks to a few tailwinds that our business experienced. COVID-19 was a blessing in disguise for us. There was a phenomenon known as pantry stocking, where customers began purchasing more than what they required, and this helped us gain some business during this time. There was a major competitor in the green pepper business who had to shut shop, and this helped us capture additional market share. Also, for the hydrolyzed vegetable protein business, we launched a new range of HVP where it was a game changer for us. We were able to take on the global competition, and soon in India we were able to successfully manage to replace all the international competition. So all these factors put in together helped us double our turnover over a span of 3 years. And these 3 years filled us with a lot of confidence. We believed we could continue this momentum and drive further growth. However, the past 18 months, which is the last line that you see there, has told us a different story. The tailwinds that helped us grow has since subsided, and we've seen our top line flatten in the last year and a half. It was around this time that we recognized the need to take a step back. We needed to look at what wasn't working, what was, and to formulate a plan to ensure that we could re-enter a sustained growth trajectory. This is where the Stanford Seed Transformation Program came in. It gave us the tools and the frameworks to critically evaluate our current position and identify opportunities for transformation. It allowed us to see that while we had achieved much success, the next chapter of growth would require a different approach. We will get into that in the subsequent slides. So one of the first challenges we faced in this journey was having to answer this question: why do we exist? To which we had no answer at that time. So what is a mission statement? It is what drives each one of us at Herbal. It is what guides our decision making along with our value systems. So our mission is to empower global packaged food and food ingredient companies by delivering sustainable formulations that create unforgettable taste experiences through cost leadership and innovation. So once we knew what drives us, we discovered what we wanted to achieve, and we set some ambitious goals for ourselves. We had laid out 4 ambitious goals. 1, we wanted to more than double our revenue in the next 5 years, thereby getting to 250 crores. We wanted to spread our flavor enhancing ingredient business to 5 new geographies in the next 5 years. We wanted to get to 1/3 of the Indian flavor enhancing market in the next 5 years. And while doing all of these, also ensure that we become a certified great place to work in the next 3 years. The best part about this exercise was not just discovering these goals, but the fact that we discovered and agreed upon these goals together with the team. So now that the goals were set, we asked ourselves, what do we need to overcome in order to achieve these lofty goals? And these are some of the biggest challenges that stood our way, which we had to address if we had to get to the goals that we have set out for ourselves. The first one is limited product diversification. So like I mentioned earlier, we have just 2 product lines. So hit on any one of them, and that too for reasons beyond our control, like how we have seen in the recent past, will have a big impact on the business itself and our ability to grow. It's like we have too many eggs in 2 small baskets, and a hit on any one basket means we have a lot to lose. The second challenge is the market saturations in 3 regions. What does this mean? Our biggest market for green pepper is Europe, and we are already 70% of that market. The same is the case for HVP in South India. We have covered and almost all the big players and have a significant share already. So where do we go then? Finally, there's also a growing demand for healthy ingredients, and this could challenge some of our current offerings. And we will need to be geared up to provide healthier offerings, especially for the developed markets. So how do we overcome these challenges, and where do we start from? To help navigate and find answers to these challenges, Stanford gave us a simple yet effective framework, the ANSOF matrix. You may have heard of this earlier, or you may have also used this framework. It's a simple 2x2 matrix where there is product on one side and markets on the other axis. The first box on the top left is existing markets in existing products. So existing products in existing markets, which means market penetration. This is what Herbal has been doing well over the years. But will this strategy help us propel forward? Maybe not. The second one is new products in existing markets. Like I mentioned earlier, we have only 2 product lines, so maybe a good thing to get into developing new products for our existing markets, and that strategy is called the new product development strategy. The third one is existing products in new markets, which is market development. Like I mentioned earlier, we were saturated in our existing markets, so we had to look at where we could take our products into in terms of which geographies and how to play in those geographies. And finally, new products in new markets, which is the diversification strategy. Well, did we have the bandwidth to do that? I wasn't sure. As a business leader, I wanted to look at all these strategies. Although one of the key learnings of the course was at any given point in time, in the medium term, it's best to look at not more than 2 of these strategies in order to get the right sort of focus. After a lot of discussion internally and applying some of the lessons learned, we decided to focus on product development and market development. So in market development and product development, not getting into the details, we looked at which of these geographies and how are we going to play. Also in terms of our product, which product adjacencies do we get into in terms of where do you think we as a company has strengths and where could we win in terms of the next product launches. We looked at the transformed company strategy where the 4 key customer segments were packaged food companies, food service business, plant-based companies, and flavor houses. And in terms of the product focus, we looked at getting flavored HVPs, vacuum dried HVPs, paste, and the latest being the yeast extract, which is a natural product which is helpful in delivering umami or the richness. So once we decided which geographies to play in, how do we plan to play, it was all detailed out by looking at the market opportunity, who are the current competitors, what are the kind of products that are in the market, and how do we play to win. It was also essential that we develop capabilities that can help sustain competitive advantage in the future. Some of that is like expanding our marketing insights as we go into new markets, leveraging on the economies of scale in order to stay relevant and bring down our cost of production. Talent was key to us, especially for sales and marketing and new product development, and leveraging on the parent ecosystem. Synthite being present in some of the markets that we wanted to get into, it is essential that we leverage on those existing strengths that the group company already has. In this process, we also realized that certain functions of the organization need to undergo a transformational change in order to get to our goals. These have been identified as our sales and marketing function, research or new product development, and operations. This means that my involvement as the CEO of the company will focus more on these functions for the next few years, as these are the key pillars of transformation. In the interest of time, I will take you through some of the work that we have done in one of these pillars to give you a sense of the work involved. Now, when we look at sales and marketing, one of the interesting things that came out in the course was this segment personas. Being in the B2B space, we always looked at segmenting customers based on the end-use industry. For example, noodle manufacturing or snack manufacturing was ways how we used to identify our customer segments. And then we used to have key accounts and so on and so forth. In this activity, we were asked to define attributes of customer like focus on quality, price sensitivity, importance of innovation to them, payment terms, and efforts required to onboard and service. On these bases, we were able to identify 4 customer personas for our HVP business. Then we ran through our past data to find out the number of customers in each segment, what sort of gross margins were we able to get, average order size, cost of servicing our customers, etc. On this basis, we have identified 2 segments we want to focus. We call them some quirky names like Brainy Bravos and Bargain Bandits. These are guys who are ready to pay. Some of them are price sensitive, but they want innovative products. The Bargain Bandits, not very concerned about quality or innovativeness, just talks about price. But we realized the cost of servicing, the number of people that we are having, and the order size makes it really sensible for us to focus on these 2 segments. Again, diving deeper into this, if we look at any one of the personas, like for example the Brainy Bravos, we looked at the entire journey right from the awareness stage of the customer right to the post-purchase, Like when you look at the entire cycle, what are their goals, what are their actions, what are some of their emotions that they go through, and what are the touch points that we have, and how can we improve on all these touch points. This is the detail to which we have mapped out each of these customer personas. The next concept is the go-to-market strategy for the new product and the new geographies that we have set out for ourselves. What specific GTM actions do we take along the same stages of the customer journey? This all then goes into a list of actions that we need to take in order to successfully execute these go-to-markets. I also want to quickly show the concept of the sales funnel. Again, simple tool where we map our past data and look at the various stages of the funnel where our current projects are. This will also give a sense of what the success ratio in each of these stages are. We could take on realistic targets and then monitor this to figure out if this was an issue with not having enough of leads in the first place, or if it's the problem with the technical team not being able to convert the leads into technical wins, or if it's the problem with the sales who are not able to kind of commercialize the technical wins. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through some of the other pillars of transformation, but the idea is once you identify the pillars, that are critical for success, you spend more time in those functions to identify what sort of transformation you want to bring in. And finally, after all the planning and actioning is done, we move into the balanced scorecard implementation. So what is the balanced scorecard? It is a performance management tool where you have financial drivers as well as non-financial drivers, which is why it is balanced without paying too much focus only on the numbers. It is built out bottom up, where you start with the lowest pillar, which is the learning and development pillar, and then you work your way up to the internal process, customer and financial pillar. There would be a flow from the lower pillar to the upper pillars as you build it out. The idea is one pillar will help the next, eventually leading to a happier customers and more customer retention, leading to financial gains for the organization. Now, this will have key performance indicators and targets for each of the objectives that we have taken out on for the organization. And from the organizational level, it cascades down to the functional head levels and further down to the lower levels of the organization. There is a linkage between the organization level goals and the department level goals. And this is how the 5-year growth journey is going to look like, where we have decided or targeted the turnover for the coming 5 years and the capex required in order to propel the growth. Finally, we also work on topics that have linkages to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In our business, we have identified 3 areas where our company could have direct impact on the SDG goals. Of the 3, we have taken the carbon footprint reduction on priority and put an operational plan for the impact priority, where there is a clear owner, time frame and the metrics on the various impact initiatives. Before I conclude, if there's one lesson or one thing I want you all to take away from this talk, and it's perhaps the biggest lesson I've learned in the journey, is what got us here may not necessarily get us to where we want to go. Times change, challenges change, and opportunities change. Keep an open mind and keep learning. Thank you.
Now the floor is open for questions.
Thank you for beautiful presentation and good strategy, and you made to the tactics and operational thing actually. And most of the organization, we, as an employee, we may not be able to see this kind of strategy, how you're going to do actually. It's well articulated. Only one question. See, you were talking about all other aspects like employees and other plans. How you are going to leverage the technology in terms of automation or reduce your cost or improve your productivity? Anything you thought about that actually in this, your strategy?
Yeah, there is a segment where how we can digitize, it is there as part of our operational excellence. We are looking at using IoT devices in our manufacturing so that we could help with predictive maintenance, and also see where we can use automation to the extent where we can reduce our dependence on labor. Because labor, especially in Kerala going forward, that is the biggest challenge that we see for ourselves. Thanks.
Thank you, Jacob, for an excellent presentation. Now, I'll go a little deeper into one of the, you didn't touch upon it very much. From your experience, how do you think we can tackle the Chinese challenge? Because that's a big question now going on. Can India overtake China as a manufacturing hub? With your experience in China.
think based on my experience living in China and having been in the manufacturing sector there, the biggest difference that I see when we compare that with what is happening in India is the approach there is top down. The government has clear policies laid out for every state in terms of what they want to focus on, and then it is seamlessly passed to the lower levels. Every policy is in support to that. So if we were to get to that, one is to build out ecosystems, right? We are looking at building out the semiconductor business, and we are trying to get to that. But it will need a lot of time and effort, and the synchronity has to come where everyone works towards getting everything in alignment, which is where I think the significant challenge may be. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. First question, the most significant problem in Kerala industries is labor obstruction, labor strike. In none of your slides, you have mentioned either about the problem or its solution or its existence. The first question. Second question, having worked in China for so many years, the Chinese have so many products, flavoring products like yours in India. Why haven't you thought of reverse introduction of these products into the Indian market? Because we also love Chinese food. Third question is, you mentioned about that matrix. No, what is that matrix?
Answer matrix.
Answer matrix. Have you thought of during your strategy sessions a blue ocean strategy, where you introduce a product which does not exist in the existing market, nor is there any competition in the world? One thing which I can think of is bringing out liqueur out of jackfruit, which is a Kerala product, like Sambuca from Penjirgam or Anis. 3 questions.
The first one was about the labor. So that is actually, see, what I've shown is just a glimpse of the entire program. It would take me a good whole day because it's a 60-page report that we built out, which has risk and mitigation plans. One of the key risks of having a business in Kerala is to do with, the dependence on labor. So this has already been accounted for, and like I mentioned earlier, automation is one way we can reduce our dependence. So that is one of the mitigation strategies. We cannot be, and also while we grow in terms of our hydrolyzed vegetable protein business, we might look at even considering putting plants outside of Kerala, given that the humidity factor is also quite high here. So there is also plans to mitigate these kind of risks that we talked about, but I didn't touch upon that like you rightly said.
You have no labor problems?
We've been in the business for the last 53 years. We don't have labor problems.
Why?
That's a reason for.
You should come and visit us and see why. I don't want to talk about that.
Ninan, can you tell us some of the steps that you initiated to have excellent industrial relationship? I know among the 53 years of your existence, perhaps 1 year or a couple of months you suffered. Otherwise, it's been a, very cordial industrial relations. Can you share a few things with us?
One is to keep the employees happy, and the other aspect is in terms of union. We do have unions at Synthite and even at Herbal Isolates. We've been having union for more than a decade now, and this is something which I think is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, some of our foreign customers, when they come down, they check if we do have unions, and it is seen in a positive light, so that they have enough bargaining power with the management. So in terms of disruptions, as long as there is a fair one is we focus on work, we ensure that we have sustainable growth. When we have growth, there's opportunity for everyone to grow, right? So in terms of the industrial relation, these are things that were taken care by my grandfather and my uncles and my dad, I've not spent too much of my time trying to work on that aspect to commit.
Thank you, Mr. Jacob. I've been spending last 4-5 days studying about your company. In fact, I have written as part of my book, chapter 18 on Synthite, right from the work of Mr. Jacob, your grandfather, if I am tracing it correct. Each activity of Mr. Jacob and Dr. B.G. Jacob, I have studied and noted, and I am noting. Now, just one question. How is the integration of biotechnology areas into your particular unit? Thank you.
So when we look at biotechnology, what we use is fermentation as a technology will be used for the products that I mentioned earlier, which is about getting to cleaner forms of flavor enhancement. Right now we have a product called hydrolyzed vegetable protein, where we use an acid to break down the protein. In the future, we will be using fermentation as a technology to break down the proteins, and that is by using single cell yeast, and that is the product called yeast extracts. So this is where we look at biotechnology as a product development.
Jacob, the whole strategy came out of your the seed initiative with Stanford. I wanted to understand how you got your team onboarded when implementing this strategy, because very often that's the most difficult part.
So, Sebastian, while the main difference of the Stanford Seed program is it is not just the business leader, you have to nominate 5 people from your organization to be a part of this program. So at every stage, they get involved in the workshops where the business leaders come to your company, where you do the workshop together. There is a sense of involvement where they come out, starting with the company diagnostics. It is them who talk about what are the company's strengths and weaknesses. And then slowly when they start building out the strategy, there is a clear sense of involvement from all these people. So, and in fact, so to speak, 50% of the effort is actually coming from the team and not just the business leaders. So that really helps get the skin in the game for them, and it really helps us to implement these strategies.
So my question is, like, how did the logistics affected you in the COVID times, and was there any effect on the revenue?
Yeah, so in terms of logistics, like I mentioned, because of the supply chain disruptions, we got a lot more orders at a short period of time because our customers ordered far more than what they really required. This is the phenomenon called pantry stocking that I was talking about. In terms of the price, a container which used to cost about $800 from Cochin to Hamburg ended up costing us $8,000. So for the low value items, the per kilo cost on freight went up significantly. We were not able to pass on the entire cost increase to our customers because once we take annual contracts, it's very difficult for us to go back on our word. So we had to take on some of those losses. Some of them agreed to share the losses that we incurred. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for the session. I want to ask something about one of your products, the HVP. How exactly is it different from monosodium glutamate?
So hydrolyzed vegetable protein, we take any protein source which is naturally available like soya, groundnut or corn. We take these, once the oil is removed, then we have what is called the meal cake. It is high in protein content. So we break down these proteins into its amino acids. There are a few amino acids which are responsible for the flavor enhancement, like the glutamic acid. So once we break down the protein into its amino acid, we use a process of acid hydrolysis followed by alkaline treatment. This generates what is called hydrolyzed vegetable protein. How is it different from MSG? It is not a pure chemical. This is from a natural raw material.
Good evening, Mr. Jacob. Yeah, in your experience, how rapid the flavor, the taste of a region or a country changes, whether the flavor or the interest of a nation continues for a decade or so, or number one. Number two, in last 10 to 15 years, which is your emerging market globally?
Yeah, the first question in terms of the change in consumer preference, I think of late, because of the world has become so small, people are traveling extensively, they're getting used to taste outside of what they were experiencing earlier. So the taste preferences are changing and they're ready to explore new tastes, unlike earlier. So I don't think it takes a decade for you to, for things to change in terms of your consumer preference. Those are going down as we speak. The second one was about?
Emerging markets. There is an emerging markets.
Yeah, like for the hydrolyzed vegetable protein business, we have identified Brazil as one of the key markets for us. I was recently there on work and we see there is a lot of dependence on importing these kind of ingredients in Brazil. So there is a lot of opportunity for us to get into the South American market.
Thank you. I'm Rinchi Abraham, guest member from MMA in Chennai, because of the invitation of present here and past present here. I thought, thank you for your very wonderful presentation. I had just two questions. One is, what is your thrust or the weightage given for R&D? Because that's an important element. How you have tackled that and what's your effort in the first point? Especially if government and all support, food technology and all, there's a lot of backup. Are you getting that support? Second is Synthite itself, you have done a good brand. So how are you building up or sustaining it? I happen to be coming from the public sector, so I'm just curious to understand. Thank you.
You're right, the R&D is a very crucial piece of what we do. In terms of support from the government, the things that we are working on currently requires knowledge from consultants who have worked in the industry outside of India. So we bring them on short-term stints where we work closely with them to get us knowledge about things like fermentation as a technology and how we could use it for our product development. So R&D is crucial. We are building, which is why it is one of our pillars of transformation, in order to strengthen our R&D team so that we can churn out more products at a faster pace. The second one being?
Brand.
Of Synthite.
So Synthite brand value.
Yeah, so
brand.
Yeah, as a brand, what about Synthite?
Synthite. How developed? You are a global leader, you can see. So how are you improving your brand or sustaining the brand value?
Yeah, I think for us, again, oleoresin earlier, this was a thing that we founded in 1972, where back in the day, it was a value-added product. Today, the Chinese have come in the picture and they've commoditized this game. So it is very important for us to keep moving ahead in terms of the next technologies. So from solvent extraction, we moved to, say, supercritical fluid extraction, which was a cleaner version. Now we've gone into mechanical extraction, where we don't use any chemicals or carbon dioxide itself. So we have to advance ourselves in terms of our technology. That is one way of keeping ahead of the curve. And then, like I mentioned earlier, fermentation, bioengineering and biotechnology are areas where we are now putting our money on, which we hope will deliver results for the future.
Good evening, sir. So as you mentioned earlier, your two main products are pepper and HVP. So, and you also mentioned in the answer of metrics, you didn't mention about product diversification. So would you consider product diversification, or is there a reason why you are not focusing too much into it?
Yes, I mentioned that since we have only got two products, product diversification is one of our key strategies. So getting into yeast extract or flavored HVPs, using Maillard reaction flavors, these are some of the products that we want to get into. And since we have spray drying as a technology, we are also looking at getting into other spray dried specialities like caramel powder, we're looking at fruit powders. So these are the product element. Definitely one of the key areas we are focusing on is to build out new products in the future.
Thank you, sir, for the enlightening session. Now, I invite Dr. Anil Joseph, Secretary of KMA, for the vote of thanks.
Good evening all. President Ninan, MC member Radha Vanur, the speaker of the day, Ninan. Indeed, let's give a big round of applause to Jacob. The depth in which a planning has to be done was demonstrated, has gone into detail, and every success is the concept of failing to plan is planning to fail. Or here we have seen a demo of how meticulously it can be planned with a roadmap of 5 years where it has to reach each and every milestone, how the diversification has to happen, and what is the impact on a global perspective. Thank you very much for that excellent talk, which can be motivating factors, especially for the students, how to do an analysis and come up with a new thought process of your core area of interest. Thank you very much for that wonderful talk. So, a lot of carry home points which I don't want to repeat. You might have all noted how depth they have gone in and what are the strategies they have worked out and what are the plan A, plan B. And if something goes wrong, how to maintain the metrics and how to come out of that. So thank you very much, Jacob, for this wonderful talk. And today we had some of our past president, Joseph Philip is with us, and we have MC members, IGS, Tompi Joseph, Dilip Narayan and Shaktimani with us. Thank you all for joining us, and let's give a memento to our speaker, and I invite Shaktimani to come over. He's the Director of Finance of FACT and CMD designate Rashtriya Ispat. So may I have special thanks to LGS because our schedule, the entire schedule is full. Every week we are having the session back to back, and I am always happy to see the full audience. The entire hall is always full, so that means there's a lot of things which you carry home from the session. So thank you very much for the organizer, the vice president and the program chair for doing that. Thank you very much for that. Next week we will have on November 1st, Ratan Tata Memorial Lecture by Mr. T.K. Nair, the former Principal Secretary to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. And on November 8th, we have Leader Insight Session, Campus to Retirement, Leadership and Insights from a Lifetime of Public Service by Mr. K.M. Raghavan, IRS, former Commissioner of Customs, Government of India, and Mr. V. Venu, IAS, former Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala. So I request all of you to join our upcoming programs. Thank you very much for all of you for joining us today, and thank you the MC team and the in-house team of KMA to be being part of that, and we wish you all a good night. Thank you very much.
Now I request everyone to rise up for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जगति तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for your presence.